Hi, I'm Julia, and my capstone is on the Soviet Union. This topic inspired me because my mom and grandparents immigrated from there. I'm going to tell you a little secret, but if you want to hear it, you have to promise not to tell anyone. Before I learned anything about the Soviet Union, before Capstone started, I thought the Soviet Union was a time period, not a place that pulled in 15 republics under communism and dictatorship. My main inquiry question is, какая была жизнь в Советском Союзе после Второй мировой войны и перед распадом Советского Союза? You probably did not understand a word I just said, because it was in Russian. My real main inquiry question is, and I promise it's in English, is, what was it like to be a Soviet Union citizen after World War II and before the dissolution of the Soviet Union? Before we get started on our communism, let's talk a little bit about the Soviet Union before the Bolsheviks, or the communists. They were under an emperor, Tsar Nicholas II. He believed in autocracy. For you young kids out there, autocracy means dictatorship. But he was forced to establish an electing legislature. He was overthrown and executed in 1918 for his opinion on World War I and Bloody Sunday. Anyway, back to the real reason you're listening to this. Basically, it all started with some guy named Karl Marx. So one day, he strolled up to his friends with a great idea. At least he thought so. Hey guys, he said, listen to my awesome idea. A world where everyone is financially equal. No rich or poor people, just all equal. And it's not going to turn into a dictatorship or anything. Well, he thought wrong. And it was the 1800s, so he didn't say guys, awesome, or even hey. That may not have been what actually happened, but if I were him, I'd come up with this great idea. That's how I would spread the word. Alright everyone, please rewind your brains to when I started talking about the Bolsheviks. When they came into power in 1922, everyone suddenly became financially equal. The government owned everything, including hospitals, schools, factories, and stores. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, the Soviet Union had a motto. The motto is, from each according to his ability, to each according to his means. Meaning, communism was meant to create equality for the people, even if their abilities varied. Communism was intended to be beneficial for everyone, but it had its flaws. For example, someone who was a doctor would earn about the same amount of money as someone who was a coal miner, even though the doctor would have to work much harder in the first place to get their job. Another example is a situation where there are two coal miners. One works very hard at their job and mines all the coal they can. The other one slacks off and thinks, well, look at this guy working so hard. I don't have to mine the coal because he mined this much. He'll make up for the work I have to do. Although this doesn't always happen, in many situations, people who will not be rewarded for their hard work will stop doing it. Humans are not perfect. Many will not work as hard without getting something extra. These people were getting about 100 rubles, or American dollars, a month, which doesn't seem reasonable. Those who made more money than their salary were all criminals. They paid someone to work in a factory to give them some of that product. Then, they sold it illegally in a black market, hoping to make some extra money off of it. In America, you can work for a little extra money legally. It included 15 republics. They were Turkmenistan, Estonia, Uzbekistan, Armenia, Belarus, Russia, Tajikistan, Moldova, Lithuania, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Georgia, Latvia, and Ukraine. Please watch and listen closely to this video.
This is the story of the fall of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, the largest communist land, had 15 republics that were centrally planned. In the Soviet structure, Moscow organized all the big republic of Russia, plus the ones that were small. This communist form of public big industries had central planning providing all the necessities, but up-to-date little goods come faster if there's computers. They could not stay modern with just big central leaders. And since World War II, East Europe had been divided in ways that were not what each place would have decided. There was not enough freedom, just one old gang in the middle. The war budget too large and people's voices too little.
I have a quote about the Soviet Union. Why did the Soviet Union disintegrate? Why did the Communist Party collapse? An important reason was that their ideals and beliefs had been shaken. Xi Jinping. What has always struck me as odd is that if the communists wanted everyone to be equal, why did they just remove money altogether? You could get all the healthcare you needed, and you could work at the job that interests you most. Those who always dreamed of being a surgeon or an author could, but in the real world, they would probably be the opposite. There would be no thieves because there would be no money to steal. You could have all the food you needed, and less trees would be cut down because money uses up a lot of paper. Come on, guys, would you rather have this or this? I'm sorry, I was being really rude. I'm standing up here talking on and on about these dictators, but most of you don't even know who they are. The dictator that was in charge for the longest and known to be the worst was Joseph Stalin. He was born on December 18, 1878 in Gori, Georgia, not the state. He died March 5th, 1953. Joseph Stalin had 4 children. When people think of dictators in the Soviet Union, which is not very often, they immediately think of Joseph Stalin. There were others, and if you are curious, go to my table in the meeting room, and you'll see a comparison chart of when the American presidents ruled and when the Soviet dictators ruled. Now, do not repeat these mistakes. Do not be Karl Marx or Joseph Stalin. Fight for freedom. Come visit my blog site if you're interested to learn more about my capstone process. Thank you.